Hey guys, welcome back and I hope you're all doing awesome today. And as usual, it's time to check out some more Reddit posts, so let's get into it, friends. You want his car? Take his other crap first. My partner Carl and I were friends at first, and when he lost his house due to bankruptcy, he came to live with me. He had no job, lived in poverty on a disability pension, of which he gave his ex half, for 14 years since his wife left. In contrast, I owned my own house, had a successful business, and was pretty independent. He was very handy around the house and loved puttering, talking with the neighbors, and had a great sense of humor. He was clean and very easy to live with. We were together for 10 years. We treated each other well, but he had no rights to anything I owned and vice versa. I stayed away from his family drama as best as I could. Carl had 2 adult kids, Margot 28 and Todd 35. The kids never visited their father, ever, and when he called them, they rarely picked up, or returned his calls. If they did pick up, they brushed him off or dismissed him entirely. I felt bad for him, but what could I do? They were like that for years before I met him. They were rude and nasty people, but he loved them and couldn't understand why they didn't have time to talk with him. Carl died suddenly one evening at 58. He had been in poor health, and finally his heart just gave out. Not 12 hours after he died, Margot called to ask if he had any life insurance. For a nanosecond, I thought that she was concerned about my finances, handling the burial, etc. But no. She told me that according to their mother's separation agreement, he was supposed to keep life insurance on himself, and she and Todd were to be the beneficiaries. I guess he never told her that once she turned 18, he had canceled his life insurance because he was on disability and could not afford it. He may have tried to tell her during one of those phone calls, who knows. Later the same day, Margot called and asked if he had a will. She told me that she had already been to a lawyer. This was the day after he died, and that because she suspected Carl didn't have a will, she would be his next of kin. She would be taking over the burial arrangements, etc., and she was the beneficiary of all his stuff in my house, including his car, which was a used car but still newer than hers. I was pretty upset by the timing of all this, and couldn't believe they could be this mean and cruel so soon after he died. He was their dad and he loved them. She then told me she would be doing a walkthrough of my house to be sure I didn't miss anything of his. That was where I said, no, you won't. Margot was really pissed about my refusal to let her into the house and to take the car that same day, and conveniently forgot to tell me where they were having the funeral. She didn't put it in the paper and she only told special people where it was. I found out later it was 3 towns away. But she did let me know repeatedly that they wanted the car and all of his stuff out of my house. I knew that once she came to take the car, she would not be back to get the rest of his stuff, which she knew was nothing of any value. I would be left to get rid of a monumental amount of stuff at my expense. Now, dear Carl was a hoarder, and I mean that in the true sense of the word. Even if something was broken, useless, outdated, or worn out, he kept it. So he had 4 old-style TVs, 6 giant toolboxes, 8 computers, 2 dead barbecues, a floor model drill press that he was going to fix, a bandsaw he found in the dump, 6 stereo components. None of this stuff ever worked. He was saving them all for parts. Plus 198 boxes of metal parts, from odd machines, trucks, cars, bulldozers, and buses that he salvaged and collected over the years. It was all in the garage, which he thought of as his man cave. 198 very heavy boxes. Guess they were packed quite full. Plus the pride of his collection, a 60-year-old 5-ton metal lathe that Noah used to construct the Ark. So I parked his car at the very back of my 2-car garage, then shoved all of the boxes of stuff in front of it so that it was impossible to remove the car without taking everything out in front of it, including the metal lathe. It took 2 weeks and a lot of effort, but the garage was packed to the roof. I took a picture of the garage with the doors open. Margot and Todd soon started screaming to their lawyer that I was not cooperating in regards to the car. I responded that I needed to see a legal document that the car was in fact legally theirs, registered into their name and properly insured. In case they drove it away, I didn't want to be held liable. I also needed to have the rest of the stuff taken away. Plus, I had just had my driveway paved, so they had to have proper movers come to get his stuff, not just a couple of yahoos in a pickup that would damage the new driveway. They said they would after they got the car. Their lawyer screamed that I was stalling and refusing to give up the car. He even went so far as to accuse me of selling the car. I sent the pictures I had taken of the garage to my lawyer, proving that I still had the car. My lawyer said, "Where is it?" I said, "You can just barely see the roof, but it is there behind the boxes." He got a good laugh out of that. So Margot and Todd had to hire a moving and storage company to come and collect Carl's precious stuff. The metal lathe took 4 men and a special small tow motor machine thing to take it away. It took all day for them to empty that garage. I asked where they were taking it, and they said to a storage unit. The head mover said something to the effect that there was no way this was going to fit in the one storage unit they had rented. Oh well. So in the end, the cost of the movers was 14 grand. I heard this from his best friend. And who knows what the storage units cost and for how long they rented them. Perhaps they recouped some of the money spent from selling scrap metal. Oh right, I almost forgot. They also had to pay for his funeral. Turns out I did have an insurance policy on him that I paid for and had planned to use for his burial. But since I wasn't told where the funeral was, I used the money to pay off my mortgage. It would have cost them nothing to be nice to the woman that looked after their dad for 10 years. Evil stepmother wants my baby. Okay, so for some background, I'm a 29-year-old female, English, and I live in Italy with my fiancé, a 37-year-old male, Marco, Italian, and our daughter, 5 months old, Willow. I moved to Italy after graduating medical school where I met Marco, and now I'm a resident in one of the hospitals. My father is a crap dad, left my mom and me and has been very inconsistent. He married Tammy when I was young, and she has never liked me and she was also never able to have kids. So when I gave birth, my mom's side of the family came over to visit and meet Willow and look after both of us. Nothing from my dad or Tammy. So 2 weeks ago they turned up unannounced, claiming to be in the area on holiday, and wanted to meet Willow. She was getting a bit fussy and she combination fed, but as I was home I grabbed the cover and let her latch onto me. Tammy says the breastfeeding will have to stop soon. I'm confused and asked her why, and she said it couldn't be kept up when Willow is with them. Now I'm even more confused and I ask what is she on about. She shows me photos of a baby room and says that we should split custody of Willow and not to worry and she has everything set up already. I just stare at her, but she carries on, claiming that the age gap between myself and Marco was unhealthy for a child to grow up with, saying it was obvious I needed help and she was happy to, and mostly that I was obviously more bothered about working than staying home with my baby, so I should just let her have Willow. But obviously she wasn't able to breastfeed, so we would have to stop that now. I tell her she can't be serious and think I'm giving her my baby. And she tells me to calm down, she's not asking for full custody, but she could provide a much calmer and stabler home, and that I could always visit. She said it's what she deserves. Marco pushed everyone out and made sure Willow and I were alright. Since then I've been really weirded out, and been getting texts from my father saying I need to let Tammy prove herself as a good caregiver, and Tammy has been sending loads of photos of the nursery she has made. Just to add so people don't get confused, I'm in Italy, but Tammy isn't. They had flown over here. Leaving my best friend and his friends stranded in an unfamiliar city. So for background, my best friend has gotten into going to these Spartan races. He and a small group of his friends have started going to local ones, but recently heard about one in another state they wanted to go to and compete in, but they didn't have anywhere to stay. So they asked me if they could borrow my truck and trailer. I have a tow-behind camper, for the weekend. I said no, I wasn't comfortable with them taking my truck and trailer, but that I'd drive them and the camper to their event. We made the 3-hour trip and set everything up in the area where the race was taking place the next day. I have a habit of leaving my keys on a hook next to the door to my bedroom in my camper. Remember this. Come nightfall, I went to take a phone call outside, and ended up wandering around the grounds for over an hour. When I got back to the camper, the door was locked. And my best friend's older friend looked through the window and she said that there wasn't enough room for me in my trailer. So I reached for my keys to unlock the door, but realized I had left them inside the camper on the hook in my room. So I called my best friend from outside and all I was told was, "Sorry bro, nothing I can do." So I ended up sleeping in my truck that night, which I fortunately left unlocked by accident. Their race began at 8 a.m., and at 7 they came meandering out of the trailer and woke me up. No apology, by the way. So while they were in their race, I hooked my truck back up to the trailer, closed and locked everything, and waited until just after they finished and had started walking back to the trailer. Think really wide open field. When I saw them coming, I started the truck and drove off the property, with them chasing behind. I made the 3-hour trip back home, declining call after call. When I finally got home, I finally took my best friend's call. He started yelling at me saying, "Why would you do this? We have no way home now." I just said, "Sorry, you shouldn't have made me sleep in my truck after I did you the solid." He told me there were better ways to handle this than by leaving them in an unfamiliar city with no way home. I think he ended up calling his dad to come and get them. My parents confronted a litter bug. So my parents were sitting at a red light when the car in front of them opened the window and dumped a bunch of trash into the street. My mom was pissed. She got out of the car and confronted the woman, picked up the trash and said, "Hey, you dropped this." The woman started screeching, "I don't want that crap in my car." My mom replied, "So go find a trash can," and dumped the trash back through the open window. The woman was screaming and cussing, calling my mom a f***ing bitch, among other colorful phrases, and continued dumping her trash all over the street. At this point, my dad got involved. He's a busybody and he despises litter. He noticed that among the dumped items were several half-melted ice cream bars. He grabbed them and smeared them all over her windshield, making a big sticky brown smear right across the driver's side windshield. At that point, they noted the car's make and model and wrote down the license plate number, already calling the police. The woman sat through the light, probably trying to clear off her windshield, backed up her car, wriggled around a bit, and took off like a bat out of hell when the light turned green again. Listening to my parents recount this tale, pleased as punch with themselves, I was, yes, proud that my parents feel this strongly about littering, but also aghast. "Mom, my eyes were big as dinner plates. What if she had a gun?" I asked. "Oh, maybe I should invest in one of those cute tasers I got you guys for Christmas a few years ago," she pondered. "Yes, Mom, invest in a taser, but also maybe just call the cops next time." Well, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, and also subscribe to the channel for more. So take care, I'll see you next time.